Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Half Brothers podcast. My name is Jacob,
I'm Glenn.
and as you can tell by the podcast name, we are in fact half brothers. What are we going to talk about today? Just shooting the stuff.
Yeah, shooting the stuff, man. So first off, to clarify, we're half brothers, but we are full people. All right, you know what I'm saying? So we matter equally. But yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit in the first podcast about what we want to do here. Really, I just want to hang out with my brother, talk to him a bit, and selfishly, we have great conversations anyway. So why not share it with the world? Because, like I said, there's not enough podcasts there.
They're definitely.
There's not. That being said, we wanted to talk about a few fun things going on in the world. We grew up loving WWE.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, when Jacob was really young, I used to force him to wrestle with me. And then as he grew older and got stronger than me, I would ask him to stop wrestling with me. But yeah, we had our own little wrestling league in the backyard.
We did.
Remember that?
Yep.
On the trampoline. You remember what it was called?
No.
The KWW. I was the Vince McMahon of the Kids World Wrestling. Kids World Wrestling. There should have been something at the end, but it was just Kids World Wrestling. And we pretty much just like stage matches on the trampoline. I remember your favorite wrestler. It was Rey Mysterio. Back in the day, right? Mine?
Stone
Cold. That's right. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, we love WWE, all that stuff. I can remember growing up, and there's something pretty significant going on this year in WWE. Jacob, do you know?
I mean, of course I know. I still watch. I still watch on the regular. I'm still a big WWE fan. Watch Monday. I mean, I don't watch every week, but I definitely watch the highlights on YouTube every week. So I'm still very plugged in. Royal Rumble was not too long ago, and my boy Jey Uso won. Everybody thought, the old head was going to win it. But once one of the old heads got eliminated, I knew who was winning it. I knew it was going to be Jey Uso. And I was very happy about it. I know you were kind of shocked. You didn't expect it.
But also, shout out to Indianapolis. That was at Lucas Oil Stadium, and it was the largest Royal Rumble of all time. So my apartment, I don't think you ever got to come out there when I lived in downtown Indy. But my apartment was like 6-minute drive from Lucas Oil Stadium. So anytime I want to drive to the YMCA to go work out, if there was an event there, I wouldn't get to the gym for like 30 minutes, and it was usually only a 6-minute drive. So I'm glad I didn't live there and didn't need to work out during the Royal Rumble. But yeah, man, I mean, I love WWE. I always will. For whatever reason, I think in high school, like towards the middle of high school, I stopped watching. And I don't know if it's because I went PG or what it was or whatever, but and then I got to college, we didn't have cable. I didn't watch anything. But I will always love WWE. I like Jey Uso now. I'm watching again. They were in Cleveland the other night. Some of my boys got to go to Monday Night Raw. I was very jealous of it. But yeah, man, so it's John Cena's retirement year. From, let's see, 2025. So he'll be finishing 2025 with WrestleMania 41 being his final WrestleMania. But yeah, I guess let's start with talking about John Cena. Some people say he's the GOAT. Some people say he's one of the greatest of all time. I don't think anyone would argue that. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts on Justin Cena, baby? John Cena, final year.
Yeah, Justin Cena is undoubtedly the GOAT. I really won't accept any slander on John Cena's name. I mean, when you just look at his career, look at the longevity of his career, he was on top for longer than anybody else in the industry. And there's this big storyline going on now with him breaking the record and becoming the 17-time WWE champion. He's currently tied with Ric Flair as they both have won the world championship 16 times. But the difference between John Cena and Ric Flair is John Cena won 16 world championships inside of the WWE. Ric Flair won them throughout different promotions. So if you ask me, one, John Cena already has the record, and two, he is undoubtedly the GOAT. Just based on longevity, based on all the things he did, and based on the fact that you don't have to be a wrestling fan and you still know who he is, he's the GOAT. Plain and simple, he's the GOAT. What I will say about his retirement tour is it has been very lackluster so far. He made one appearance on the first Raw on Netflix. It was kind of just a hype the crowd up type thing. And then he was at the Royal Rumble. And another thing I'm not loving about his retirement tour is since he has started acting, he's trying to overdo it in the ring with some of his like mannerisms and his selling and some of his other stuff. Like, you're John Cena, like you were the dude that had this insane hardcore match with Brock Lesnar and won like And you're telling me like some of these like scrawny dudes are, like you're overselling with these scrawny dudes. Like, no, dude. Like I get your 40, you haven't, yeah, but still, like you're still John Cena. He's still in incredible shape. And there's so many things that I would change about his retirement tour. Number one thing I would change, make him cut his damn hair.
Yeah, dude. I was wondering about that, right? Because my boy John Cena, he always had the military cut. He was always like, and all that stuff. But when you look at his hair, the biggest issue I have, it's not even that he's got the slick back. It's that you have millions of dollars, bro, and you have a big old bald spot on your head.
Which I don't even think would be that bad if he had the marine cut.
It's not that bad, but also you have money. Listen, real quick, real talk. We're not shout out to the bald community, right? I've been losing my hair for years, right? I was going so bald. All right, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. That's messed up. That's messed up. But anyway, everyone knows here that I am on Hims. Hims, which we're not sponsored by, maybe we should get sponsored by, brought my hair back. I was going so bald, and bro, it's only like $70 every 3 months for the finasteride pill. John Cena has billions of dollars. Yeah. He could get the pill. He could get anything done there. So yeah, that kind of pisses me off. But here's what I'll say. I know he's got a movie to film. He better be at every single Raw and SmackDown the rest of the year after this movie he's on.
Which is something that also made me angry. Like you came back like over the summer and said that you were going to do this farewell tour. You came back another time and said you were going to do this farewell tour. But you scheduled a movie during the farewell tour. Like if you're saying I'm only going to do this for another year, but I'm going to do like the first 2 months of it, I got to film this movie. Well, you better give us another 2 months at the end of it. Like he's saying this WrestleMania coming up is going to be his last one. I think was a way to poorly plan it. I think your very last event in the WWE should be a WrestleMania. Because like if you stop at the end of the year, you're not even going to hit one of the big pay-per-views. Like you'll hit SummerSlam, that'll be your last big event. But SummerSlam's in the middle of summer, and then you're going to go all that time to finish out the year and not have another huge event. Like I think so far it's been poorly planned. It's been poorly done. I've not been a fan of the John Cena farewell tour, and I am a John Cena stan through and through. Like John Cena's my boy. So yeah, I have not been pleased with.
That being said, just to kind of wrap this up on John Cena, who do you want to see? If you get to see 5 matches from him this year, who do you want to see him wrestle?
CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. That's tough. Roman Reigns again. I'm just going to go with the guys that are in there now. Seth Rollins. And then, who's another good one? Did I say Jey Uso?
I think you did.
Okay.
I think you did.
I said CM Punk, Jey Uso. No, I didn't say Jey Uso. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso.
Okay. I do want to see all those same matches as well. But there's one match that I really want to see one more time. And that is 2 of the GOATs.
I forgot.
Going at it.
I forgot. No, I'm taking Jey Uso out, putting him in. I already know who you're going to.
John Cena and the final boss.
Oh, no.
Hit some boom!
Okay, I'm changing my list up. I'll add The Rock. That's a good one. I'm taking out Seth Rollins, and I'm putting in the Viper, Randy Orton. That has to be the last match. Their rivalry in WWE is one of those rivalries you put up there with like greatest rivalries of all time. Has to be Randy Orton. We have to get to see like a good match between those two again.
Bro, could you imagine John Cena's last match being against Randy Orton? And the way that he goes out is getting RKO'd, and he loses his last match to Randy Orton, and Randy Orton becomes the WWE champion.
I think that's how. Realistically, I do think that's what they're gonna do because that'll put Randy at 15, so he'll be
Randy
200.
Orton
John.
Randy never stopped, did he? Randy never stopped. He doesn't get the love that he deserves.
He does.
Okay, he does. Yeah. All right, great. Well, I'm wrong on that. What do you think about The Rock?
Like, what do you mean?
It doesn't matter what you think. I just wanted to do that.
Real quick, I did see this TikTok. There's this new restaurant in New York. It's like a Mexican-Japanese fusion place. It's called Room 40. Have you
Room 40?
Yeah, have you tried it?
No, I've not heard of it. But we have so many things in New York. So
you haven't tried Room 40?
Room 40, no, never.
Room 40 is nuts in your mouth.
All right, amazing. Dude. He said he wanted to do a Christian podcast, by the way.
I saw Josh Allen say that on Part of My Take, and I was like, I sent it to everybody other than you because I wouldn't try it.
Good. I hope Pastor Dan listens to this. All right, real quick. We'll go through a few other things before we get into our main topic today, but let's talk about it. Groundbreaking trade. I still can't believe it. Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Dallas getting to return Anthony Davis. Yeah, man, that was pretty crazy.
It's
I don't know. What do you think?
very confusing to me, to be honest with you, because you see, I mean, you see all this slander on Luka's name about like he's just in bad shape and this, that, and the third. But like honestly, like if I'm the Lakers, I'm ecstatic about landing that trade. Like I think we just hose the Mavs if I'm the Lakers, especially because like AD's on his down end of his career, and he's a bigger guy, to where I don't think he's gonna have the same longevity that LeBron has. And like Luka's just heating up. Like he scored 70 points in a game this season. Like he was in the candidate for MVP if he like would have been able to stay healthy. And like now he's gonna be alongside LeBron James, who's like the king of longevity. Like
Right.
if he's gonna be able to learn how to be able to play in the league for a long time, it's gonna be alongside LeBron James. If I'm the Mavericks, I honestly don't know what you were thinking. I think that was idiotic. But again, I'm not a GM. I don't get paid those big bucks. So who knows what I like? Who cares what I think?
And LeBron brings the best out of his teammates too, man. Like Kyrie has never played better basketball than me play with LeBron. Anthony Davis, even though he's like, he gets hurt and all this stuff, he's never played better basketball than he did with LeBron. Dwayne Wade, even like just all these people, he knows how to bring the best out of people. But I did see a conspiracy as to why they made that trade, and it said, I don't know if it's true, but apparently the owner of the Mavericks, who took over, the majority owner, okay, because Mark Cuban is not the owner anymore, and he was pissed to hear about this.
Yeah, I did see Mark Cuban was mad.
Yeah. So, but he sold the team. So apparently, this guy wants them to do like a new, like arena with casinos or something like that, right? He wants to make some like big event center, kind of like what Jimmy Haslam is trying to do here in Cleveland. But like they're saying, like no, they're denying it. They're making it hard. All this stuff. So basically, what I saw is that the manager was doing this as like a big FU to the city and saying like, if I tank this team, I'll just have to sell it and move it to another city. So if that's the case, that could be it. But who knows, man? All I'm saying is Lakers going to get that chip if the Cavs don't. I want to see LeBron get one more.
I would love to see LeBron get one more.
It's the year of Cena and LeBron,
Yeah.
the GOATs. All right.
The GOAT's finishing things off strong.
All right. Well, the Super Bowl is coming up, but it's probably over by the time we watch. Congrats, Kansas City, on your three-peat. You won.
What was the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
Super Bowl just happened. Because
they'll
it's
be
out
seeing,
later.
So I mean,
So the
episode
Chiefs
one
just won.
will have one out right after the Super Bowl.
What's that?
What's that?
Episode 1 will have one out right after the Super Bowl.
That's
So this will be
right.
a week after.
So congrats to the Chiefs last month.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. It's definitely gonna have been the Chiefs, but it's just annoying at this point, dude. I mean, like, I hated the Patriots, don't get me wrong, but towards the end of their dynasty, I was like, this is incredible. We're never going to see anything like it again. And the fact that we are seeing something like it again just makes me mad. Like, it's just annoying.
What I'm excited about, though, is I can't believe the Browns were able to trade Myles Garrett to get Jordan Love and a bunch of other picks from the Packers.
Good for you guys, dude. Good for you. Take him. Take him.
If Myles Garrett was still on the Browns when this is posted, then...
So how do you feel about that whole Myles Garrett thing? Because, like, David Njoku requested a trade, and then you saw him saying that thing about, like, hey, Miles, I tried to request a trade. Like, it's not a good idea. And, like, there's a lot of people saying they think it's just because he wants more money. Like, he has no more guaranteed money on his contract. So they think that it's because he's trying to rework his deal.
Yeah, man, I don't know. He sounds pretty serious about it. But let me just say this to the ladies out there. Ladies, if you're single, I am single. But let me tell you something real quick why it's significant. If you're out there and you ever meet a man and you want to know how loyal he is, if he says, my favorite football team is the Cleveland Browns, you need to husband him up, lock that boy in. Because if he's a Cleveland Browns fan, that man has been loyal to the most toxic partner in life.
He knows how to deal with heartbreak.
That's right. And you don't ever have to get better or fix yourself. You can literally be so messed up and never have to change your ways because he will not leave you. So, it really puts you in charge. And even when he threatens to leave you, you know that he won't, and he'll never cheat on you. And even if you cheat on him. So, anyway, it sucks, man. It sucks being a Browns fan. It builds character in some ways, but also, my counselor did say there can be a correlation to depression and Browns fandom specifically.
Yeah, I mean
I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no. I mean, I 100%
actually
believe it.
said that could affect it if you're so used to not getting anything you want. If you're so used to disappointment, you expect disappointment. Bro, the Cleveland Browns have made it hard for me to believe in myself, and I struggle with my purpose and calling in life, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about
By the
today.
way, I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan. Go Pack, go. That's why he said the Jordan Love thing.
That's why he's very confident in himself and life's going well. So with that, that's a good transition, by the way. Did you see
that was nice. That was nice. That was smooth.
Getting
You're
good at this.
natural. Episode 2, and look at us, man.
Listen, today we just kind of want to talk about our purpose, like finding your purpose in life, wrestling with the difference between like your calling and your career, right? Because they're not always the same thing. I think you can do some things that you love and it may not be paying the bills, but you still got to do something to pay the bills and get through, and you still want to do a great job at whatever that is. So with that, man, we're in our 20s. There's a lot of pressure on people these days in our 20s to have our lives figured out. So yeah, I don't know, Jay. I'll open it with you, man. Like you're 26, finding out your way in life, figuring out what you want to do. Yeah, man. How has it been, kind of navigating and finding like your purpose? Do you feel like you know what your purpose is? You're searching for it. Do you have like a calling that you feel like? A lot of different things. Anything you want to say?
I feel like I definitely know what my purpose is, and I was actually just having a conversation with my cousin about this last night. So like, it's a very fitting topic. It's something that has been on my mind, and something that I didn't like. If you asked me this question a year ago, I wouldn't have been as confident in my answer, but I'm definitely significantly more confident now. My purpose in life, like I think I might have mentioned this in the first episode, is to know him and to make him known. And like you can do that in many many different ways. Like I was talking about in the first episode, I think that a big way to lead people to Christ and to the cross is through your actions and not necessarily your words. And I've kind of always been the opposite way. I've tried to lead people through my words, and my actions haven't lined up. So over the last 6-7 months to a year, I've been really working on making my actions line up with my words and making my actions line up with that thing. And I was actually watching a Ruslan video recently, and he was with Nick D. He's from TikTok, but he's a music guy. I'm sure you've probably seen him before. But he's not somebody that necessarily is super loud about his faith, but he doesn't curse in his songs. His songs are very PG for the most part. And he's one of those guys, and the way he was phrasing it, he was like, I want to live my life in a way that makes you ask questions. Like, I want you to question, like, why does he live like that? Why does he do those things? And when I was telling you about my one buddy who you're actually going to meet tonight, he kind of lives life that same way. He's not super loud about it, but like when he doesn't drink and you're kind of like, well, why? He doesn't smoke and you're kind of like, well, why? He doesn't, try to talk to girls and stuff all the time. He's not out there chasing women. And you're like, why? So he lives his life in a way that like makes you ask questions and then kind of makes you start to think about, okay, well, why is he living like that? Why can't I live like that? So that's just kind of like where I'm at in my life now is trying to live more and more like that every day. And, I'm still not perfect. I still have my flaws. I still have my, I still fall into sin all the time. But also something with that is like recognizing that like sin is a personal choice. And it's, anytime I do sin or, stray away, it's because of personal choices that I make. It's not because, God created the world imperfectly or because the devil is just that strong. It's because I'm deciding to make those choices in that moment. Like it is purely up to me. And I know there's people that are definitely going to push back on that. There's certain people that believe in like predestination and things like that. And that's just not something I necessarily believe in. But yeah, purpose in life is to know him and to make him known. And I think, like you were saying, like, well, professionally and like things like that. Like I think a way that I help make him known professionally is I'm probably the biggest believer in my work. And like when it comes to like me and you, I feel like you're significantly stronger in your faith than I am. But like in my workplace, I'm the strongest believer there. And like my buddy is the biggest believer that I know. But in my workplace, I'm the biggest believer there. So it's like, in I don't know that I'm necessarily leading anybody to the cross at work, but I know that people definitely know that I am of faith, and they know that it's very important to me. like a way that I think that I can be a good representative to Christ in the workplace, because like we both work in sales, and I know there's a lot of people that think sales is scummy and like you're just finessing people all day long and this, that, and the third.
Sometimes got to get it somehow.
Luckily, I work in the business to business end, so I'm selling to businesses. These people have the money to do these things. They have. It's not like I'm selling to some old lady and manipulating her into buying something she can't afford. I'm selling to businesses who like this can actually benefit. Um, and like a way I feel like I can represent Christ well is by just doing my job to the best of my ability. Always, having my head down, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not getting up and, chit chatting all day, or, just trying to let the clock go by, like by staying focused, by being the best that I can be every day. I feel like is a good way that I can represent Christ. And another thing is like when I was talking to our old VP or our old COO, whatever they call him, like there was one time like I had gotten really frustrated about some things at home and was like asking him if I could work from home, and I was just cussing up a storm when I was asking him this, and he was like, this must be something that's like really really getting at you, because I've never heard you cuss before, and I had been there for like a year and some change at that point. So it's like I had gone through a year and some change, and one of the higher up people there had never heard me curse. And it's not, and cursing is something I do. I've been working on taming my tongue more. But like that in itself just kind of like showed me like, okay, like I'm not being a complete degen here. Like I like people do know, like it is a little more obvious than maybe I had thought in the past. But yeah, I would say purpose is to know him and to make him known.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. And I will say just one of the things you said, as far as like, when you said like you're a stronger believer, I don't know that I wouldn't say that I'm a stronger believer than you, or that anyone is really a stronger believer than the other in the sense of like it's not like a competition,
No,
right?
not
Like
necessarily, but like you've always
so
gone to
I'm just kind
church.
of clarifying for someone. I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
but just to clarify, if anyone thinks it's like we don't believe in any type of social caste or spiritual caste system or whatever, right? And so maybe what he's saying is like I might be a little more seasoned. Maybe like I've been doing the things longer, or like you said, yeah, like going to church longer, or like gone to seminary, things like that. I dropped out; it's too hard and expensive. But yeah, I would say like I mean, you inspire me in ways too. So that's the thing about being part of a religious faith. Specifically with like our church family, our Christian family. Like, there's gonna be times where you can inspire me, and I'll seek you to see like, yo, man, like how did this help you? Like, how did God help you through this? And it inspires me, right? And then I can tell you, God helped me in this way, and hopefully it inspires you. But it's like, there might be times where things are hard for me though, and I'm gonna need to go to a mentor or someone older and wiser that can really help me through that. So I appreciate the compliment, but at the same time, I just want to confess, like I have my struggles. I am by no means, super Christian or anything like that, but I thought it was interesting what you said though about like kind of separating your calling from your work though, because I think sometimes, especially in like the Christian world, people can just assume like, your career has to be some Christian based thing. And a lot of people will say like, if our purpose as Christians is to spread God's love and his message and let it be known to everyone, then we have to be pastors or missionaries, all that stuff. But it's like, if that's the case, then like, what are you going to do with the hospitals and all these other places? Like, we need people everywhere, right? So whatever you're doing, whatever your job is, if you're a believer, I would just say like, do it to the best of your ability and be as kind and loving with those around you so that they can truly see there's something different about this person. And you don't have to be perfect. I mean, I cuss in front of my coworkers. We are in sales. You're going to cuss. Deals are going to fall through. You're not going to get the money you wanted. Like, things are going to happen. But just like everyone at my work knows, and it's not because I'm like in your face about it. It's just because, it's if it comes up, I don't shy away from it. That I am a Christian and I believe in God and I follow this. And most of the time, if I already have a good relationship with someone, they don't look at me in a negative light of like, oh man, this guy's some weird religious freak. I have Muslim coworkers, like I have Hindu coworkers, I have friends from different religions, and it's amazing to be able to be in these environments and not just shelter yourself around like-minded people. Like that's where diversity, I think, is really important, that you can hear different backgrounds, different thoughts, and you're all doing a collective thing though, because you're at work together. And so it just kind of shows you like how beautiful God is that He made all these people from all these different backgrounds and brought us together. And hopefully, as a Christian, if you're in that moment, you're representing Christ well, so that these people see that the God you believe in loves these people and wants their hearts, regardless of where they're at, right? And so it's not our job to convince them at work, obviously, but them just being able to see the example you're leading, I think, is what we're called to. And so for me, the way I look at career is different than the way I look at calling. Um, I agree with you. My calling is always going to be to spread the love of God to those around me, and to preach that truth to people. But at the same time, I do not feel called to be a minister, a pastor, a Christian rapper, even a Christian content maker. Like this is just being real, and I'm not going to shy away from it. But I'm also not just going to act like it's going to be in every single conversation, and it's always going to be the one thing I talk about, right? Like we can relate in other ways. And so we kind of talked about the balance of pursuing your passion, but also making sure you're financially stable. So here's what I can say. Here's a
Ooh,
question.
that's a good one.
Yeah, right. So it's like we need our jobs, but we get drained from our jobs, and then we need to rest. So, like, how do you balance pursuing like your passions and things you enjoy and feel called to, and like the talents God has given you and put on your heart, while also making sure you're doing a good job at work?
Um, honestly, it's just more about discipline, to be honest. It's like I don't always want to get up and go to work every day, but I do. I don't always want to work out and exercise every day, but I do. And like it's something I like after I was done working out the other day, like I was thinking about it and I was just like, man, thank you God for this body. Like thank you God for making me capable and being able to do all these different things, because like I know that there's people in the world, because it's something I took for granted for a long time. Like when I first started working out, it was pretty much purely for vanity. And now it's because I want to take care of my body. And like I was saying at the end of the last episode, like I want to be able to play with my kids one day. And if I just sit there and be lazy and don't do these things and don't take care of my body and, don't go play sports and all this other stuff, then I'm not going to be able to do that one day. And like, that's always something that I wanted. And maybe it's because, I come from, a single mother household. Like family to me has always been something that like has been something that I'm chasing after. Like since I was very little, I've always wanted to be a father and to be able to have children and to be able to be the thing that I didn't have. And if I let my body fall apart, if I don't take care of it, I'm not going to be able to do that to the best of my ability. So it's really just about discipline. Like there's so many times that I don't want to, like there's so many times where I would rather call off from work because I just don't want to go in today, or I would rather, just skip a workout because I don't want to go downstairs and, feel the burn of lifting, but I do it because I know that I should, because I know that God gave me, this capable temple, and, that's how I can continue to take care of it. So it's really just discipline. But something you were saying about financial freedom, I was watching Lecrae video on Instagram the other day, and he was talking about his struggles with chasing money and success and all these different things. Like he was talking about these different businesses he's built and whatnot, and how like he has fallen into this lie of financial freedom, and like people will chase this financial freedom and or financial stability, whatever you want to call it, when it really is just a way to kind of take your faith away from God. Like, in the Lord's Prayer, it says, give us this day our daily bread. Like you should always be dependent on the Lord for the things that you need and believe that he's going to take care of you in every aspect. Like I'm sure, we've both been in situations where we don't know, where our next meal is going to come from. But then we've also been in situations where we're like, I could buy 20 meals right now. Like if I don't know what I want to eat, I could go to 8 different places and get all these different things that I want to eat. I'm not going to eat all of it, but I could. So it's like this lie of chasing financial freedom. Like you're never truly going to be financially free. You could always lose it at any second. Like sure, you should want to have money, you should want to be able to be secure and to take care of your family, but at the same time, like that shouldn't be like your main goal and aspiration in life, I don't think. And that was the first time I had heard it, because I was really trying to like chase financial freedom and security and everything for a minute there, and then like when I heard him talk about it that way, I was like, that's a beautiful way to put it. Like, because there was a time pretty recently, to be honest with you, where I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from because I just wasn't doing good with my money. And now that I've been doing better with my money, I always know where my next meal is going to come from. Like I always know that I can feed myself and nourish my body. But there have been times where I haven't, and I was still able to eat. Like there have been times where the bank account was at zero, and I was still able to eat. So it's like, there is having money is not necessarily a bad thing, but chasing money is. And it's not that money isn't the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil.
There it is. Yeah, I was gonna say I think there is a difference between, there's nothing wrong with financial stability or financial freedom if you can achieve it, but the word financial security is an illusion because there's no security in any amount of money, right? And I think once you try to find your security in money, that's when it gets dangerous. The love of money, like the comfort that money brings is an illusion. And I'm not saying you don't need money, just like you did. You do need money. You need to pay the bills. You need to work hard, right? But there's going to be times where you have more than enough. And if you're feeling good and comfortable strictly because of your bank account size, then that's an issue. But at the same time, if you're coming up short, like this is where I struggle, to be honest. Finances have always stressed me out because, as you know, like we didn't grow up like super rich or anything. And there would be times where, I grew up on the welfare system. I grew up with food stamps. Like I remember getting the food stamp card and going down to the store to get some snacks and stuff. And then one day going again and try and get something and there's no money on the card. So we'd have to wait for it to reload. It's coming from the government. So it's like, so my goal in life, one of my goals was to, when I get older, never have to worry about money again. And for years, because I lived in Indianapolis, it was cheaper before inflation and all this crazy stuff. For years, I accomplished that. And I didn't have to worry about money too much. And I was like, oh my gosh, this will never be a stress again. That's where it's wrong. It's a lie. There will always be times, no matter how much money you make, where there does become a stressor that is financially motivated, right? And recognizing that, you can accept the fact that that's just going to happen and know that at some point the money will come, or if you're working hard and doing everything you can, then ask for help, and people that love you and can help you will help you. It's just about being responsible and recognizing that if you only have $10 in the bank account until your next paycheck, okay, you are just as secure as you are if you had $20,000 in that bank account before the next paycheck. And I think that for me is something God has been teaching me this past year, because I have been stressing so much about money lately because of student loans, medical debts, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, my rent has gotten paid every month. I've had groceries every single month. There's been moments where it was close, but I've learned so much from that. And God has just kind of helped me realize, like, remove this illusion of comfort that your extra money was bringing you. Because I have enough money to pay my bills and get the food I need. That's all I need. Yeah. So why am I stressing so much? Because I don't have extra in the savings like I used to. Yeah. New York's also ridiculously expensive, so that's kind of why too.
And I mean, like, again, and something on that, like, that's still like, a personal decision that you make. Like, you could have more money if you lived in a different city.
Theoretically,
yeah. Shoot, I forgot the point that I was going to make. I keep doing this, man. This is terrible.
It's okay. Yeah, I think you're going to talk about trusting in God.
Yeah. So something about
with the money.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll pause.
Trusting in God with the money. Yeah, I don't know.
Take a break and have our sponsors say a word. Yo, man, if you ever pull that shit again on our podcast, you're out. You're out. See, man. I just get someone else in here.
Dang, that light is dying quick.
I did die. That's okay. I think this is mostly lighting us up anyway. But you know what? The Lord is our light.
So you're talking about, like, you're kind of always stressed about money. Like, we kind of, like, we grew up very close to each other. We'll have to share the story of, exactly. Yeah, we'll get there at some point once we get a little bit of an audience. But honestly, luckily, like, that's one of the ways that I've been blessed, like, my entire life is, like, I've never really worried about money. Like, there's been periods in my life where I was worried about money and I was concerned with how much was in the bank account and things, but, like, it's never been, like, something that I was, like, chasing real hard. Like, when I was younger, I used to, like, want to be famous, and, like, that was something that I was chasing. Like, when I first started making YouTube videos on, like, shoes and whatnot.
Get ready.
I mean, we'll see. Anyway. It's just been one of the ways that I've kind of always been blessed. I've never really been super focused on money. I've never really had this deep love for money and, like, wanted to chase money or anything like that. and like so many people like I've talked to, like it is something that's hard for them. It is something that is challenging for them, and it's just never been that way with me. And I've chased other things. Like I've always been very, like I talked about in the last podcast, like been very concerned with women and people's opinions of me, and all these other different things. But for me, money's not been one of those like big stressors or those big things that I focus on. I have always been able to, even when my faith hasn't been strong, I've always kind of been able to, like, hey, you know what, it's gonna be all right. Like we're gonna figure it out. Like, and maybe it's just because like I have had like my grandma growing up. She tried to help us out as much as she could, or my mom started making money when I got out of high school. So when I was getting broke, she had money and she could help me out more. So it's like I have always, like, money has never really been the biggest issue for us. Like there's been times where we didn't have food. I mean, there was a lot of times growing up where I didn't know if I was going to have dinner that night because I didn't know, because we didn't have a ton of food in the house. There's been a lot of times growing up where I went home, the electric was off, the water was off, the heat was off, whatever it may be. But it was I still never stressed about it. Like I never was like super worried about it. I was like this is gonna get figured out. Like we're gonna find a way. And it could just be because of all the different like family I've had, like whether it be my cousin and his mom always feeling free to feed us or feeling free to let me stay the night over at their house, things like that. Like I have always been like it's gonna be okay in terms of like money and things like that. But I haven't always been like, oh, you know what, it's gonna be okay in terms of like relationships or um my own body. Like there was a long time there where I was like, my body's just falling apart. Like I'm gonna like there's no way I'm gonna be able to play with my kids one day. Like there's no way I'm gonna be able to keep playing basketball when I used to want to play basketball a lot. So like there's been different stressors for me, but luckily money has not always been that main one that it is for a lot of people, and something that I've always been thankful for.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I think everyone's gonna have those something, right?
Yeah.
It might not be money. It could be career. It could be you're stressing about your career. You're stressing about your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. I think the ultimate like takeaway from everything we're talking about um, is that our worth is not defined by any of these material things, right? Our worth is defined by the fact that we were created by God in His image and likeness to spend eternity with Him, to enjoy His creation, enjoy Him, and enjoy one another. And so we get a picture of that here on earth. But one day when all things will be restored, that'll be a beautiful day. Then there won't be any more stresses about relationships, finances, anything like that. Um, but I just want to say, like, I think that trusting in God, whatever it is in your life, whether it's relationships, whether it's finances, career, identity, trying your best to surround yourself with people that will encourage you and point you where you need to be pointed towards God. And so that you always know, no matter what I'm doing, you should be financially responsible, by the way. You should work hard. You shouldn't get lazy or complacent. You should take care of your body, do all these things in excellence, but at the same time, trust at the end of the day that God will take care of you one way or another, even if it looks like the way we want it to look like, and that our worth is not in any of those other things.
Yeah.
Those are good things. We should be good stewards of those things. That's not our worth and identity. It's ultimately in who He made us to be. So,
Um, Another thing I saw this, just wanted to share this. I mean, yeah, no, I'll share it anyway. So I saw this reel the other day that was talking about how for believers, if you are founded in Christ, if you do believe in God, life on earth is the closest we're ever going to get to hell. And it's like I hear so many non-believers saying like, "Oh, well, the world is hell. Like, why do I care?" And like that's why reading scripture is important, because like scripture clearly tells you like Satan is the ruler of this world. Like Satan has, you know, he makes a lot of the things happen down here. Um, but like in the real was saying, life on earth for believers is going to be the closest you're going to get to hell, and for non-believers, it's going to be the closest you get to heaven. And like that to me was like, I was like, man, that's deep. And but it's really true. Like if you think about it, it's really true. Like you have this beautiful creation from God, and I think about that like every time I go outside. Honestly, anytime I go outside of my house, I'm like, and like the sun is shining, I'm like, man, like look how beautiful this is. Or like in my backyard, like there's hills and trees and all this stuff, and I can just go out there and look and be like, That's beautiful, and I'm lucky to be able to see this. Or I'm a big fan of the mountains, so it's like anytime I go hiking or I see the mountains, I'm like, man, like this is beautiful, dude. And it's like for some people, that's going to be the closest that they get to the real beauty. Like we haven't experienced anything yet.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to read this. I had my grandfather's funeral yesterday. 94-year-old man, veteran of this country, loved his family and loved the Lord. But we have a lot of people in our family that don't believe in God, that don't like faith, religion. And I totally get it. There are so many reasons why people in this country specifically don't like Christianity or religion or all this stuff. I totally get it, man. There's been a lot of bad representatives out there. And even me, I'm even a bad representative because I'm not perfect and I never will be. But one objection I hear, just to kind of go along with something that you made me think of, a lot of people say if God is real, then why is there suffering? I think you mentioned this actually. And here's what I said in a speech as I was prepping. I definitely stole from Tim Keller. I stole from a lot of other people. But here's what I said yesterday. People say if God is real, why is there suffering? But what if the fact that we recognize suffering as something wrong, what if that actually proves that there's something more? And so Tim Keller put it this way. He said, if we think there's a such thing as right and wrong, then we must be measuring that against some higher standard. And if there's a higher standard, there's a higher law, then there must be a law giver. And so basically he talks about that just to make you think a little bit if you don't have a faith or belief. I'm not trying to convince you, that's not my job, but just to think on that for a little bit, because the gospel is this. This is also how Tim Keller summarizes it, right? He says that we are more sinful than we ever dared believe, yet we're more loved than we ever dared hope. So just with what you're saying, I wanted to, since there's like two sides of what you just said, I wanted to put that out there just so that, there's a gospel presentation in this.
Yeah. To piggyback off that a little bit, and like people, like, well, if God is real, why is there suffering in the world? And people will kind of also along those lines be like, well, if God is real, why doesn't he eliminate all evil from the world? To those people, I say, just read Genesis. He did eliminate all evil from the world with the flood. And then, because of, Noah and his family, praying to him, like he recognized that probably wasn't the best thing to do, or maybe he didn't, I'm not God. But he did make a promise that he would never do something like that again. So the fact that evil and everything does exist in the world, one, God gave us free will off rip. Like at the start of creation, he gave us free will. We are not just his little puppets that he's playing, a video game with. He let us decide things for ourselves. And then when he did eliminate all evil from the world, he said he was never going to do it again. So like you can want him to, you can hope that is something that'll happen, but he promised us that he wasn't going to. And if the scripture shows, anything to be true, it is that, God keeps his word doesn't change. So that was, just a little tidbit to piggyback off that.
No, that's good. But I think these questions are hard, and I don't blame anyone for struggling with them. I think we've all struggled with them.
Absolutely.
I think it's good to struggle with these questions because we are all going to die one day. And that's what yesterday at my grandpa's funeral, I was reminded that, people in Western culture, we try to avoid grief and all these things, right? But we'll celebrate my grandpa's life for sure, forever. But yesterday was a funeral. It wasn't a celebration. It was a funeral. We were mourning and grieving. And it's good to have those moments where you are face to face with death because it's coming for all of us. And so
none of us get out of this life alive.
Yeah, so you got to think about, so I would just encourage people to think about these things more. If you're, these are hard questions, but ask those questions and dig into those questions. Why go your whole life without thinking deeper about some of the deep questions? If you just avoid it, you'll get old one day and then you'll think, man, I never asked these hard questions. And then you might live in fear.
So I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
I've had conversations with people. I've had conversations with a person that I talked to for a long time. And they would tell me that they'd never think about those things. They never think about like our morality. They never think about, is there a higher power? They never think about it. Do you think that's true? And to me, I felt like it was a lie because I think about it so.
I think it's very true. I think people purposely don't think about it because as soon as they do, it's hard to think about. You know what I mean? I think people avoid.
Do you think that? It's sure, people can tell you they avoid it, but do you think that they're being fully honest with you when they tell you that they avoid it? Because to me, it just seems so unavoidable.
It is unavoidable, but I think our culture does everything they can to make you keep positive vibes, keep positive thoughts. Don't think about those
What
things.
if
So
what if those people aren't positive?
I don't know then. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for anyone ever, to be honest with you, but I definitely think there are plenty of people out there that never think about this stuff, and that avoid it at all costs, and it's just how they operate because there are people that are avoidant in general, and it happens. I do think though at some point, every single person will have to face the reality of death. They will lose someone in their life, and until you really lose someone that is close to you, you don't really think about it, I think, in the way that you do after that fact. So,
Here's another one for you. Because you at a younger age had to face the mortality of death, losing Grandma Patty.
I even
Me,
lost. I don't know if you remember, actually, real quick.
Ryland.
I was at your house. We were playing
I remember that
basketball
vividly.
when I lost. I was in 8th grade, and I lost my friend Rylan Real, baseball player on my team, and I was 12 years old. I was about to turn. I had just turned 13, and my dad called me crying and told me that Ryland's dead. A friend of mine, and I had to leave your house. I said, yeah, and you were too young. You didn't understand though. Like you had no idea what was going on.
I mean, and then even when Grandma Patty, like I still wasn't able for me to be something that I could like really understand. Like I didn't lose somebody that was like detriment, like that was super important to my life until I was 21. I was 21 when my grandma passed, and that was like the first time that I had lost somebody that was like impactful in my life that I talked to multiple times. I had a real connection with. Like it wasn't until I was 21, and it was devastating for me. Like for a long time, like I said I was over it. Like I think me and you we went down to South Carolina that summer, and like I remember telling you like, oh yeah, I'm over it. Like it happens, blah 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 blah. But I was not even slightly over. Like I didn't realize the amount of trauma that I was still dealing with over that. Um, does it get any easier?
Yeah, I think you get used to them not being here, but I don't think we ever get over it.
But like, does the are you able to like process the emotions easier now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you learn. So I think grief. Here's what I'll say, and this might be a good thing to wrap up with. I do think grief is something that we always carry with us, but we learn how to live with it and we learn how to manage it better. I think that it's just a reminder to us of a love that we once had that is no longer here. And as we said, that we actually talked about this a little bit in the last podcast, but grief is love with nowhere to go. And so that grief we hold on to until one day we can express that again. But I do think, I mean, my grandma Patty died 2011, so 14 years ago. I was sophomore in high school, so I was 15. Ryland, I was 13. My grandma Sandra, I was in college, and my grandpa Harold or grandpa Dave in college, grandpa Harold just now. And I thought at 28, my grandpa's 94, I'm going to be happy for him. Bro, it hurt just as much as it's the first time I experienced. Even harder a little bit because you're getting older in it. But I think when I look at a picture of any of those people and I think about them for a little bit of time, I get emotional. And it's hard, but I can be at peace and have hope knowing that I do believe, we'll be reunited one day, and I do believe that they're in a much better circumstance than we are right now. So, but yeah, man. But any final thoughts? I guess we kind of maneuvered a little bit, but it's okay. I love how we started in one place and it kind of takes us wherever, and that's what we want to do here is be authentic and let my ADHD go all over the place. And I don't know if you have any attention deficit
I don't
disorder or
believe in any of
whatever.
that nonsense.
I think everyone has it personally. So why are we diagnosing it?
I don't believe in any of that nonsense. No,
Yeah.
I believe more of what you just said. Like we all have
Yeah.
it.
We all got it a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Or like, I mean, just another little tangent. I'll try to make this quick. Like stress, anxiety. I mean, anxiety, depression, all these mental illnesses that are floating around nowadays. There was a time in my life where I strongly believed in all of them, and I thought like people need to be medicated, this, that, and the third. And like since I have started growing, I think that less and less. Like I think that they're all just natural things that come from human experience, and these medications that they're putting on everybody on is no good. I don't think any of them are
I also think
great.
we're manufacturing it more.
Yeah. the more we talk about it, the more like is giving it more power. Like the more we talk about it as like this really real thing is making it more real. Because I mean, I personally think like it's all up here. It's all in between your head, like in between your ears.
What I meant by that, so I'm saying something a little bit different. I do hear what you're saying, though. I think what I'm saying is like with technology and our attention spans, I think we are ruining our attention spans and things like that. Like I think that we're putting a label on it, but I also think that attention spans are getting shorter generally, like speaking. Like we're just doing a lot of things. Depression is more common because there's less of a common good that we're all working together for. That would be a great another podcast, though, because we could go on for an hour about this.
And we've already been going for an hour again. We're talking about making these episodes 30 minutes, man.
Yeah, bite size, baby. Well, listen, guys, some key takeaways that I would just say is, whatever you're doing in your job, your life, any of that stuff, like your job does not have to be your identity. Finances doesn't have to be your identity. I think your worth is in the fact that you were made by God and you're loved by Him. And ultimately, if you don't believe that, I still think finding purpose in something that that is you is going to go a long way. And it's not going to be, if it's not your job, do the things that you enjoy that I believe that God put on your heart and the talents He gave you. But yeah, Jay, you have any final thoughts?
The only fun, I don't really love the whole do things you enjoy thing. Because I enjoy smoking weed. I enjoy having sex. You did.
What?
I don't necessarily think I don't know. It's hard for me. It's hard to really like think about how you'd have purpose outside of like a faith in something bigger than yourself, because like it is all do the things that you enjoy. It is all living of the flesh.
I wouldn't say that enjoy. I would say if you're not a believer in any type of faith and you don't feel that there's a higher purpose from something outside of yourself, still doing something that you believe is beneficial to society and not just selfish.
That's a good way.
That's a better way to say it, I guess, because I'm unapologetic about what I believe, and I believe God has you here for a purpose, even if you don't believe that. But all I'm saying is I'm not going to nag you right now and tell you you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. If you don't believe what I believe, I still think that not doing what the world says and not just pleasuring yourself and making yourself happy, but doing something that means more than just pleasing you. How about that? But something that is within you, your talents, your abilities, things that maybe you are interested in, and how you can benefit others and society in doing that. Is that better?
And I think something that like a lot of people struggle with in that aspect is the sacrifice that takes.
Yeah.
Anything like truly rewarding for the soul is going to take some sort of sacrifice. And I think that's something that a lot of people try to run away from. And I think more people should run towards it because it's going to be more rewarding for you in the long run than giving into the desires and the enjoyment that you can find in life.
I'll give you an example, and then we can close, I promise. I do stand-up comedy in New York City and sketch comedy. Not as much as I should, not as much as my friends do, and I'm not as good as them. They're very good. But I have a really good friend, and she's very talented, and she is very kind and loves people. And her and I do not agree on any religious stuff at all. But she's a wonderful, amazing, talented person, and I wish her, I hope to see her on SNL one day and being super successful. But we had to talk about purpose and meaning, and she said, making people laugh, knowing that I can help people that are going through pain and bring them joy and let them escape that moment for a minute, gives me purpose and gives me meaning. I told her I believe that's what God has, called you to do and used you to do. She, obviously doesn't believe that, but we can agree on what you are doing, like finding some purpose in what your calling is valuable. And so even if we label it differently, I think you can still find a calling in your life. And then I hope one day that it was God doing it.
and like there's still some sacrifice in that, because there's going to be a lot of embarrassing moments. There's going to be a lot of times where you go up on stage and you bomb and nobody laughs.
Oh, yeah. Happens to me every show.
But like you still have to do it, because there's going to be one moment where you go into a room and everybody's going to die of laughter. So yeah,
they're going to die. That's it. You're going to die. Thanks for watching the Half Brothers podcast. No one lives forever. You're going to die one day. Think about it. Deal with it. And if you need help,
don't ask us.
Right here.
Anyway, we'll get out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't come back next week. Don't hit the like button. Don't subscribe, and don't share it with your friends.
Happy Opposite Day. All right. Love you guys. Love you, Jay. Good stuff. Look at that.